And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with you this morning, visiting with Andrew DeFreitas and Jennifer Miller, both from the Greater East Ohio area chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I think there may be some kind of distinction that needs to be made between what is Alzheimer's and what is dementia, is another word we hear. What is forgetfulness? What is absent-mindedness? What is normal and what is a cause for concern?
Certainly. And to start that conversation, we always encourage you to talk with your doctor early and often about any changes in your memory or your ability to get through your day. But in general, what we know is that people, as they age, may have a slower recall. They may need more reminders. And it may take a longer time for them to remember where they put their keys or a person's name. As we get older, we expect those things. And certainly as those symptoms happen more frequently, there's cause for concern. Our rule of thumb is that if these types of symptoms are interfering with your daily life, they're happening multiple times throughout the day, you're never able to retrace your steps, you forget that you're looking for a missing item, then that would be what we would say is a warning sign of something more than just age-associated memory loss.
So a person leaving a room, walking into another room, and forgetting why they went there, that's not just, oh, golly, I just did that again. Or is that something to talk to your doctor about?
I think it's worth talking to your doctor about, but also worth knowing that it's a common experience that people do when they're in their 20s.
Yeah. Call somebody and you forget until they say hello who you are calling, and then you hear their voice and oh, yeah, that jogs me. Do a lot of people come up with helps? I noticed that, you write things down more. You always put your keys in the same place. Are these crutches? Are we really experiencing true memory loss when we're needing to do that?
I think being organized helps your brain. And I think that becomes a strategy that is more important as we age for anyone, whether they have dementia or Alzheimer's.
All right, well, let's talk about helping the brain. I'm thinking ginkgo biloba. I'm thinking all these kinds of things that they tell us to take that's going to help our memory. Does it or does it not?
I would say, as our communications person, I have seen kind of news stories come out almost weekly of here's our surprise cure for Alzheimer's of the week. I know around, my favorite one is around New Year's Eve, a study supposedly came out saying that a champagne experiment with mice could be the cure for Alzheimer's. And I thought that was really interesting to come out right before New Year's, that champagne might be the cure-all.
Yeah, who was behind that study?
There is no method of prevention, treatment, or cure for Alzheimer's at this moment. But the Alzheimer's Association is working on many different research projects and clinical trials to try to find a bit more.
So have they found anything that, even though you say there's no prevention or cure, have they found anything that is connecting the dots as to a cause?
Well, to add to Andrew's point that, there's healthy habits that we promote. So things that are good for your brain. And the most compelling research looks at keeping your heart healthy because the heart and the brain work so closely together. So a lot of the strategies that you would do to keep your heart healthy with diet, nutrition, exercise, reducing stress, those things seem to be compelling areas of research for maybe a future prevention method.
So get a lot of sleep, eat right, and exercise. Those things we've been told to do ever since we were young. These also prevent or are a way, even though we don't want to use the word prevent, these keep us healthy, keep our brain healthy as well as our hearts.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Is it hereditary?
There are some areas that are focusing on the hereditary component to causing Alzheimer's. There are also a group of people who are looking into lifestyle factors. What we know, the greatest risk factor for Alzheimer's is age. So the older that you get, the higher your risk goes. By the time you're age 85, it's close to 50% of that age group will have some type of progressive dementia, Alzheimer's, and other types.
Okay, now you say those as two different things. Is dementia different from Alzheimer's?
Yes. Dementia talks about the symptoms associated with confusion, memory loss, difficulty getting through your day, difficulty with simple tasks, personality change. When you have those types of symptoms, we encourage you to start with your primary care doctor to get a diagnosis of dementia. Once you have that diagnosis, your next question will be, what kind of dementia? Where is it in my brain? Is there a cure? Is there a way to reverse it? There are types of dementias that are reversible. Alzheimer's is not one of those types of dementias, and Alzheimer's is the most common disease that can cause dementia symptoms.
What you've just said is very good news. It might not be Alzheimer's. It might be another form of dementia that would be reversible. How do we go about reversing that?
Well, it depends on what type of dementia it is.
Okay.
So that's why we encourage people. Some people have the experience of going to their doctor and the doctor just saying, well, you're 85 years old, you have dementia, and that's all the further it goes. And at the Alzheimer's Association, we are advocates for getting a more specific diagnosis to figure out if it's Alzheimer's or other types of dementias.
And right away my mind goes to different ways when you get some kind of a diagnosis like that. Would there be, first of all, some kind of a natural, eating more of something and less of something else that would help? Second, would there be some kind of medication that somebody has come up with? And third, would there be some kind of brain exercise? I don't know. I like to tell myself that the Sudoku I'm doing is worthwhile.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's so common for people. And it's kind of exciting to think that I can do something and it might change my dementia symptoms. So the research behind that basically supports an idea of lifelong learning. So just making sure that you're putting yourself in environments that are new, where you're learning something different. Sudoku is great, but we encourage more variety. So if you're naturally good at puzzles and games, something that would be better for your brain is to delve into arts and crafts, music, something that you're not naturally good at.
So learn something new every day. Mm-hmm. And add Candy Crush and Words with Friends.
Right.
Okay. All right. Then this
because
is all
that's
good.
social, and that can be an added benefit to your brain
kind of
to
like
be social.
as you learn something, you're getting better at it, and you're not challenging your brain as much. So if you do Sudoku for, say, a month, then you switch over to Words with Friends for a month, and then you switch over to teaching yourself kayaking or something. Just kind of challenge yourself and keep that challenging mindset, literally.
Mm-hmm. I had a father-in-law. Well, I mean, my father-in-law has now passed, but while he was living, he always was trying to learn a new language. And I think he had become very good at about 8 of them by the time he had passed. Isn't that something? But yeah, just always interested in learning something new, and that's good for us. What are symptoms that we should watch out for? Simply just forgetfulness? Is there some kind of surprise symptom that we should be wary of?
I think it's a combination of what we call red flags, and usually it's the people who are closest to that person that has the memory loss experience. So if you're noticing patterns of forgetfulness and it seems to be getting worse, and maybe you're also noticing some personality changes, or someone who used to be very good with numbers now can't manage their checkbook. So it's when there's a change in that person that it becomes something the family is aware of.
Know the 10 Signs is one of our community presentations that the Alzheimer's Association puts on.
Well, let's hear them. What are the 10 signs?
Oh, gosh. Well, I was just going to say that across our 17-county service area, we have a full-time staff person who goes out into the community and does presentations on Know the 10 Signs, healthy habits for a healthier you, living with Alzheimer's for caregivers, living with Alzheimer's for individuals with the disease.
Where do these presentations take place?
Oh, we usually do them at community facilities, assisted living facilities, and all. And scheduling one for your group or club is as easy as going to alz.org and contacting us.
Okay, so you can have even someone come into maybe your workplace, your office area.
Absolutely. We even have some kind of
your Sunday school class, your Bible study. Anybody can have a group, have someone come in and speak with their group. alz.org.
alz.org. Locally, specifically, it would be alz.org/Akron, Canton, Youngstown. But if you go to alz.org, it will ask you your zip code and connect you to your local chapter in case you're one of the online listeners from across the country.
We're speaking with Andrew DeFreitas and Jennifer Miller. They are from the Alzheimer's Association. And so let's find out a little more in depth of what you provide. What does the Alzheimer's Association do for families with someone who might be suffering this?
Well, we like to clarify that we can help people who have any type of memory loss symptoms condition. So oftentimes we're working with people who are concerned about their symptoms and they don't have a diagnosis yet. And we can connect them with a physician in the area who specializes in this field and can help them get a diagnosis. Once they're diagnosed, we encourage that they work with people who might be able to help them plan for the future. And that's where we offer our program called Living with Alzheimer's, which is a way for people who are newly diagnosed to get a grasp of what this disease means and what they can do to prepare for the future.
You've said the age 85 a couple of times. Is that when, would that be a typical age, or does Alzheimer's, is it not a respecter of persons as far as age?
Oh, I know some of our messaging does say that Alzheimer's affects individuals of any age, whether you're a caregiver, a grandson, a niece, nephew, a friend.
Absolutely.
Anyone
I'm glad you said that, because it absolutely affects the people of the loved one who has the disease. But as far as the age of the person getting the disease, is there a typical age?
Well, it definitely increases with age. I know that some people have actually been diagnosed with the disease as early as their 30s, and some science is looking at being able to predict that diagnosis as early as 27, but that's still very early in the research phase.
And that is very terrifying news. Do they have any idea why or how someone that young could have brain deterioration that early?
Usually when the disease seems to affect someone 65 and younger from the onset of their symptoms, we do tend to see that there is more of a genetic link to that type of Alzheimer's. Not always, but that is, a sign that it's maybe tied to their family history.
So what kinds of things does the Alzheimer's Association, let's start with the person themselves, the person who is struggling with this disease. And tell me about these people. Are they aware that they're not able? How frustrating must that be?
Absolutely. In the early stages of the disease, a lot of people who have these problems are ashamed, embarrassed, covering for them, and even their immediate family members, their spouse, will cover up their symptoms. There's a lot of fear associated with what could be wrong with me and what that could mean for my future. A lot of people enter their older years looking forward to retirement and enjoying travel and grandchildren and hobbies. And so this disease, certainly in that age spectrum, tends to stand in the way of that dream and hope that they have. So yes, people in the early stages are pretty well aware of their symptoms. As they progress into later stages, they may not be as aware. And at that point, it's the family that grieves and suffers more than the person.
Let's talk about the family. What kinds of services do you offer to the caregivers? And how long can a person realistically be a caregiver for one with Alzheimer's?
Well, for reference, so there's over 5.4 million Americans living with Alzheimer's disease, and that's about 9,900 in Stark County alone. And we estimate that there are about 3 caregivers providing unpaid caregiving services for every individual. So that's over 15 million Americans right now, and that may triple by the year 2050, which is why our mission is not just providing programs and services, but we have a fundraising and research arm, an advocacy arm that's working with the state and federal government to make sure that if we hit the right research funding goals, our experts believe we can have a method of prevention, treatment, or cure by 2025.
So interesting. We're speaking with Andrew DeFreitas and Jennifer Miller from the Alzheimer's Association. Going to take a quick break. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.